one-to-one, more personally, we will certainly stick around and do that. So before we get to your question, let's just make sure everyone understands.
Nada más vamos a tomar una pregunta más del público. Después Chief Rojas va a responder unas cuantas de las preguntas que fueron entregadas por escrito. Y al final de la reunión vamos a tener a los equipos a las personas del equipo de monitores aquí disponibles si quieren hablar con ellos después de la reunión.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. My name is Tupac Enrique Acosta. I work with the organization Tierra, who's been in existence now 20 years, working on these effects of discrimination issues under the framework of international human rights law. The international human rights law framework, which in 2007 was fortunate after many centuries of work to achieve recognition by the adoption in 2007 of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. I sincerely appreciate your call to accountability, and I believe the comments that have been made here throughout this evening are part of that process. And I would like to make this very specific question and make a comment to put context on the question. The question is this: how may we best make suggestions or recommendations, better said, concrete recommendations as to the monitoring process itself of the discrimination that's taking place in Maricopa County? Tonight we're focusing on one individual, one office holder, the sheriff and the sheriff of the county of Maricopa County. We're really seeing that this is a law enforcement discrimination issue in general terms. We've also seen that the dynamics of this law enforcement discrimination issue in general terms has historical context. And as indigenous peoples of the territory, we're not immigrants. As indigenous people of this territory, we're not Latinos. As Mexicans, we're indigenous peoples, yes. And in the paperwork that led to the lawsuit, where the term was used, dark-skinned Mexicans, everybody in this room knows exactly where the discrimination is coming from. They know what is the origin of the racial profiling that we've been suffering here ever since the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848 that put in place the justifications for the regimes of manifest destiny that have led to the situation that we are now contending with again here tonight. So here comes the question. Martin Luther King, in '67, he said, we have emerged from the era of civil rights to the era of human rights. In '68, they killed him. We are sitting here in the company of, we are all officials. We are all officials of the monitoring process of justice. Because as was mentioned, justice doesn't come out of the courtroom necessarily. It should, but we know it doesn't necessarily happen that way. We also know that justice should be policed and enforced, and those who are getting paid for it should be doing the best job of that, but we also know that's not also the case as well. Today we are sitting in the company of a Human Rights Commission of los Comités de Defensa del Barrio. I would ask la Comisión de Derechos Humanos de los Comités por favor que se paren. To which our organization was attending the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, and we spoke to the President of the Commission on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, which is a treaty body to which the U.S. government is obligatory to report on the practices of racial profiling conducted not only in Maricopa County, but throughout the country. Therefore, the question is, and this is not only for you to answer, but for all of us to address, how may we establish as the norm for the monitoring process for all of us, yourself as an agent of the court, we as agents of our nations of indigenous peoples, members of the nations of indigenous peoples, how may we establish as a norm for the shared protocols of enforcement of the law, the basis of the law of human rights, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, how may we establish the norms and standards of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a guideline and as a framework for the continuation of this process? And I'm also speaking about the meetings that are going to be taking place from here forward related to your work. Thank you so much.
De una forma muy resumida, prácticamente lo que el señor acaba de decir, él es parte de la organización Con la Tierra, lleva 20 años con esa organización y básicamente lo que quiere saber él es cuál es la mejor forma de hacer recomendaciones en cuanto a este proceso, no solo para las personas latinas, pero para las personas indígenas, que muchos de ellos también no se consideran latinos. Entonces quiere saber cuál es el mejor proceso para establecer este tipo de protocolos que ayuden y vayan junto con la Declaración de Derechos Humanos.
I can't, where is the gentleman who just spoke? Okay. You're obviously a very learned man, and that was a very, very complex question. You had a very good sense of history, legal precedent, and well-known civil rights leaders. Can I address all of those issues as a monitor in this case? The answer is no. The root of the issues you're talking about is embedded in the history of America. I think you know that. It would only be my hope that through this process, which addresses only one piece of the broader issue you're talking about, that a measure of sensitivity, awareness, concern, access to people who occupy political positions who we hope will come to these meetings. It would be my hope that we could move that agenda. But I think, quite frankly, and I'm speaking as an American, not just as a monitor, but what you're talking about is in many ways the history of our country. And whether we're talking about indigenous people or people of color anywhere, this is an extremely serious problem, which even through all of our trials and tribulations, is unfortunately still with us. So I respect and appreciate what you just said, and I would offer, sir, that someone of your understanding and depth and great commitment, make sure that as we go down this path, that you're part of it.
Básicamente acaba de decir que obviamente el señor está bien educado, sabe de la historia y de todo eso, pero él como monitor desafortunadamente no puede hablar de todas estas cosas que el señor acaba de hablar, pero sí espera que a través de estas reuniones y de este proceso, una parte de ese problema tan grande que hay se pueda solucionar, y espera que con él y con las personas que sigan viniendo a estas reuniones se pueda conseguir una solución.
Fueron dos preguntas de lo que me han hecho en el papel. ¿Por qué el MCSO le encontró culpable de perfil racial sigue siendo enredadas y nunca enredadas detienen a otras personas solo hispanas? En la orden judicial, el juez federal fue bien específico en las órdenes que le dio. Si ustedes tienen alguna información acerca de este tema, por favor, nos ve cuando se acabe la reunión, tomaremos su información. Y tenemos que tener un poquito más de detalle en lo que es lo que están informando. En la orden judicial, el sheriff dijo que la oficina el juez federal dijo que la oficina del sheriff no tiene la autoridad para enforzar las leyes federales, o sea, solamente el equipo de inmigración y ICE tiene la autoridad de enforzar esas leyes. La última pregunta: why was the gentleman in the blue shirt from the indigenous people reservation first off? This question was not ever addressed. Do we know the gentleman's figure? I was unaware that we did not address the question.
When I presented, no, there was no answer. That's what he did, right?
Did you have a question that we didn't answer?
Me parece que cuando hizo la pregunta no se le respondió lo que preguntó.
Basically, what I said was that under the mandate of the judge, you only address Latinos, it doesn't address indigenous people. And I asked if you were going to do follow-ups, maybe have mini forums, maybe address that issue, maybe on the reservation.
Esa es buena pregunta. Le vamos a dar seguimiento si nos queda ver al final de la reunión.
Él está diciendo más que todo la pregunta antes que, de acuerdo con el mandato, solo se refiere a los latinos, pero él quiere saber en cuanto a las personas indígenas y también se va a hacer un seguimiento en cuanto a eso. Entonces se le pidió al señor que por favor al final de la reunión viniera y hablara con ellos acerca de eso en particular.
We're going to end this up, but I'd just like to make one or two comments. When we were planning for this meeting, our greatest concern was how many people were going to show up, and if people showed up, would they participate? Would they ask questions? Some of the anger that we've heard tonight, and frustration, and social commentary, political commentary, tells us much. I consider that this meeting was successful because you showed up and we heard some things that we would not have heard had you not shown up. And this is extremely important to this process. And as time passes and we have meetings out in the districts, we're going to encourage you to show up again and ask others to show up, because all of you collectively, in conjunction with the judicial order and in conjunction with what I believe will be some good efforts by the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office to implement these changes, I think collectively we can make a difference. So I'm very, very encouraged by what I have seen tonight. I thank all of you for coming. And as we had said, for those of you who would like to talk perhaps privately with us, we'll be right here in the front rows. And the forms, the complaint forms are where, or do you have them? Okay. We have forms for those who want to make known a specific complaint, and we will address those. So really, on behalf of everyone, I think it's this is a very good day for Maricopa County, and I'm glad that you came out.
Nada más quería hacer un comentario. Cuando planeamos esta reunión no sabíamos cuántas personas iban a aparecer, si iban a hacer preguntas, pero ya vemos que escuchamos parte de sus frustraciones y las quejas que tienen. Eso me dice a mí mucho. Sí, me parece que esta reunión fue exitosa. Gracias por venir. Esperamos seguir escuchando de ustedes y que inviten a otras personas a que vengan a las próximas reuniones. Me animan este tipo de reuniones y espero que tanto el Departamento Judicial como el Departamento del Alguacil podamos trabajar juntos para hacer una diferencia. Una vez termine la reunión vamos a estar disponibles para los que tengan preguntas y también tenemos los formularios disponibles para las personas que tengan alguna queja.